Operators another week to clear the piles of white stuff from Trail Ridge Road. The road finally opened on June 6th. Of course, the season is very short way up above tree line, but that's the beauty of Trail Ridge. For decades now, it's been allowing people in their vehicles to access the beauty of that very fragile environment. Let's go up there right now. Here's Doug Whitehead. Doug?
Well, Jim, if you tried to drive Trail Ridge Road during the last 5 years, you would encounter hour-long delays as they completely repaved the road. And this summer, the work is done, and I was able to start out in the park in the early morning. Bull elk tussle above timberline in Rocky Mountain National Park. This tete-a-tete will soon turn serious when males compete for females during the fall mating season, a dramatic ritual that is only part of nature's cycle of life in the tundra, the land above the trees.
For some of these plants, it takes them 10, 20 years before they flower. For 8 months of the year, the average temperature is below freezing, and the summer is so short.
Interpretive Ranger Cynthia Langath explains that too many footfalls in this Arctic-like environment can set a plant back not just for the summer, but for decades.
We ask people to stay on the trails because obviously those hundreds and thousands of people every day walking across the tundra would have a significant impact.
The preservation of this alpine world has been the mission of Rocky Mountain National Park since it was established in 1915. For most of that time, Trail Ridge Road has been the main thoroughfare to the tundra.
Trail Ridge Road was completed in 1932. And we have not done any major road work on that road since that time.
The longevity of this road construction project is testament to the quality of work.
When you have a road that's the highest continuous paved road in the United States and is over 12,000 feet, you see a lot of problems with freezing and thawing.
The park managed to patch the road up for 75 years.
So the scenery and the elevation was taking your breath away, and also these little slumps that you would go on felt a little bit too much like an amusement park ride.
After 5 years of work, 38 miles of Trail Ridge Road between Estes Park and Grand Lake have been completely repaved.
Where else really can you go in the United States where you have such an accessible way to get to tundra and to experience what an unbelievable ecosystem that is?
Hiking trails provide another way through the ecological zones of Rocky Mountain National Park. At a lower elevation, a new spur of the Continental Divide Trail has been built. So the Continental Divide Trail extends all the way from the Canadian border in northern Montana to the Mexican border in southern New Mexico, with the goal of staying away from motorized routes as much as possible, which is why this new trail opened to the public this summer in August of 2011. It used to be that foot traffic on the trail would have to walk along Trail Ridge Road a ways before hooking up with the next segment over in the Arapahoe National Forest. Now this new bridge over Anahu Creek on the west side of Rocky Mountain National Park keeps people away from traffic and in the wilderness. A wilderness shared and protected in Rocky Mountain National Park. Weather can change rapidly on Trail Ridge Road, so it's a good idea to check on road conditions before you go. Call the information line at 970-586-1222 or check out the Rocky Mountain National Park website. That's nps.gov/ROMO. And you can witness the primitive mating ritual of the elk in the park from mid-September through mid-October. Call the park to learn about ranger programs and the best places to see and hear the elk. That's 970-586-1206. So when they began building Trail Ridge Road, it was a major construction project. And as we heard in that story, it was 75 years before they had to repave it. Now, if you know what you're looking for, there is subtle evidence here in the park of ancient construction projects that began way before 1932.
Only a good eye and the right lighting will allow you to see that there is a line of rocks coming right up here. A good eye can tell that this is not natural.
So if these are not here naturally, how did this line of rocks get here?
Well, this line of rocks is part of an ancient game drive that dates back possibly 5,000 or more years.
Ancient people built walls in their quest for protein during the short summer season above 11,000 feet.
Some Indian, a long time ago, maybe with help, had to lift this rock up and place it here along with the other stones. This is part of the game drive wall, and the wall probably was a little less than a yard high, but it was tall enough to act as a visual barrier. And the game drive is built like this. The elk are driven very slowly up along these walls.
Archaeologists speculate that women and children might slowly walk behind a herd of elk.
They probably would have walked in a line very, very slowly so as not to spook the animals. They didn't want to stampede them. So when the animals were coming up very slowly, they would see this wall and they would concentrate them at the top of the game drive wall system where the hunters were waiting. And this is the most obvious of all of the blinds. The animals can't see the hunter at all. He's crouched down in here. And keep in mind that as soon as the hunter sprung up to spear an animal, the other animals in that herd would spook. So this hunter probably had but one chance to kill an animal. You know, what did they do during the winter? I don't know. You know, it just got to be a tough life.
Reach Rocky Mountain National Park by taking Highway 36 from Boulder through Lyons and up to Estes Park and the entrance to the National Park. Or take Highway 34 from Loveland up Big Thompson Canyon to Estes Park. Trail Ridge Road closes for the season when the snow flies, usually sometime in late October. So Jim, if you want to learn more about the game drives in Rocky Mountain National Park, there's a great little exhibit here in the Alpine Visitors Center, which of course is a great place to stop and learn everything else you want to know about the park.
Thanks, Doug. Great stuff. And how lucky are we here in Colorado to have Rocky Mountain National Park right in our own backyard? We'll take a break right now and we'll